Part 2. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 11. Thank you to readers Ziwishenmenzi for the tip. Thank you to readers Ziwishenmenzi for the tip. Thank you to readers Ziwishenmenzi for the tip. Sauron's abilities are completely synchronized with Bayu's. So the moment Zorro awakened to see the haki, he naturally understood it. Bayu was also very surprised. He didn't expect that Sauron would realize the haki of wisdom and color before he realized Zhantai. How did Zorro do it? Luffy was very surprised. Because Zorro awakened one of the three colors of haki, the haki of wisdom and knowledge. Bayu explained that it would be a good thing for them to let Luffy and the others come into contact with haki as soon as possible. Three colors of domineering. Not only Luffy is curious, Zorro and Usopp are also very curious. Since you want to know, I will tell you about it and let you know how big this world is. Bye. You spoke slowly. The three colors of domineering are the domineering color of knowledge, the domineering color of armed force and the domineering color of overlord. The haki of seeing and hearing is the haki that you have just awakened, Zorro. Did you fully notice the trajectory of this person's actions just now? Zorro nodded and said, yes, even if you close your eyes, you can still clearly feel the surrounding environment. The highest state of seeing, hearing, and seeing is divided into two types. One is to listen to the voices of all things, and the other is to be able to see the future. It is said that Roger, the Pirate King back then, had the ability to listen to all things. Luffy's eyes lit up and he shouted excitedly, it's amazing. I also want to practice the domineering power of seeing, hearing, and color. Bye. You ignored Luffy and continued. Armed haki can increase defense and attack power. It can also cover weapons with haki to increase their power. The most important thing is that when fighting with an ability user, only by using armament haki can you attack the entity of the ability user. Just like when an ordinary person punches Luffy, he doesn't feel it at all. If he uses armament haki, he will definitely feel pain. I see. When I was little, it hurt so much when my grandfather hit me. Luffy immediately raised his hands and shouted. Then your grandfather must be a master of armed color and domineering. Bayu did not reveal Garp's identity. Isn't there also a domineering and domineering character? Zorro asked. Overlord colored domineering energy is the most special existence. Only a few people possess it. It is an innate domineering energy that cannot be obtained through practice. Bayu, haven't you lost your memory? How do you still know this? Luffy's IQ suddenly went up. I also remembered this when Zorro awakened his haki. Bayu had already thought of his words, but he didn't expect that Luffy would ask. Yeah? Then do you know how to practice? Luffy asked with curiosity on his face. Have no idea. Bayu answered simply. Although he knows domineering, it doesn't mean he knows how to practice it. Dang. The three of them fell directly to the ground. They originally hoped to let Bayu teach them how to practice domineering, but it turned out that it was useless after talking for a long time. Okay, don't worry, it's still early for you to become domineering. If you want to practice domineering, you have to become stronger. Although Bayu also wants to gain haki, he also knows very well that haste makes waste. Although Zorro has unexpectedly awakened haki, it is still too early for them to truly practice haki. Isn't it enough that you are all so strong? Usopp swallowed in shock. This current level of strength is far from enough if you encounter those truly strong men on the sea. Bayu shook his head. This kind of strength is only seen in the East China Sea. When it comes to the Grand Line, it is nothing. Let alone participate in the war on the top. Bayu, I will become stronger. I will definitely become the Pirate King. Luffy clenched his fists and shouted loudly. In this case, if I don't become the world's best swordsman, you will also be troubled, right? Zolong also had a smile on his face. I want to be a brave sea warrior. Usopp was also infected by the two people's heroic words. By the way, Baiyu, what is your ambition? Zoro asked curiously. I. Bai. You was stunned for a moment. If I have to name one ambition, it would be freedom. Free. The three people were very confused. In their view, freedom is a very simple thing. Usopp. At this time, a woman's voice came over. Kaya. Usopp immediately shouted. What happened? After the woman saw the situation at the dock, she was immediately frightened by the scene in front of her. Are you okay, Kaya? Usopp asked quickly. I'm fine. I'm sorry, Usopp. I blamed you wrongly. I shouldn't have disbelieved you. Kaya sincerely apologizes. It's okay, it's just these pirates, how can they be my opponents? Usopp said very proudly. They are. Kaya looked at Luffy and Baiyu Zoro. They are all my subordinates. You sure? Baiyu interrupted Usopp's bragging. That. Usopp was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat. He had witnessed Baiyu's terror. Hello everyone, thank you for saving our village. I really don't know how to thank you. Kaya understood immediately and thanked her very politely. If you want to thank us, it would be best to give us a boat. We don't have a boat yet. Baiyu put forward his request very directly. Although the ship of the Black Cat pirates is good, it is far inferior to the Melee. After all, the Melee has a ship spirit. Of course there is no problem. Kaya nodded with a smile. Before that, let's go get something to eat. I want to eat meat. Luffy shouted loudly. You bastards! Do you want to leave me alone? Nami's angry voice sounded. These people jumped off the ship and ran away, leaving her alone on the ship. She originally thought that the Black Cat pirates would have a lot of money, but she turned over the entire ship and couldn't find it. How much treasure? Now that these people are going to eat, they don't take her with them. It would be strange if they don't take her with them. After eating, the group of people came to the pier. Wow! What a beautiful boat! Luffy's eyes instantly turned into stars. This golden Melee was designed by my housekeeper Melee. Although it is not luxurious, it is still very comfortable. I have prepared the daily necessities inside for you. Kaya introduced with a smile. Thank you so much, Kaya. You are a good person. Luffy jumped on the boat excitedly and sat directly on the sheep's head at the bow of the boat. Thank you. Goodbye then, Miss Kaya. Bye. You smiled slightly and got on the boat directly. Zoro and Nami also couldn't wait to board the golden Melee. Finally, there was no need for four people to squeeze into a small boat. Me. Usopp opened his mouth and just said the word I, but couldn't say anything else. Usopp, why don't you get on the ship? Luffy asked doubtfully. Can I? Usopp was very nervous. Of course, we are already partners, let's get on the boat and set off. Luffy grinned. A smile also appeared on Baiyu's face. Another person got on the boat. I don't know what skills Usopp will acquire. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 12. After Usopp gets on the ship, Baiyu got Usopp's exclusive skills. Gunfighting, a powerful skill that combines physical skills, spear skills, and sword skills. The introduction is very simple. But Baiyu knew that this skill was very powerful. If Usopp can really fully understand the art of gunfighting, his strength will definitely not be bad. How could a skill that combines physical skills, spear skills, and sword skills be inferior? Usopp, I remember you wanted to be a brave sea warrior, right? Baiyu looked at Usopp and said. That, me. Usopp was stammering and speechless. It seems you are not brave enough. Now that you are on the ship, I will give you a gift. Yu said and pointed his finger on Usopp's forehead. Thank you, Vice Captain. Usopp thanked him very seriously. You're welcome. Now that you have learned the art of gunfighting, you will be called Yanchuanging Usopp from now on. Yu suddenly wanted to make a prank. Yanchuanging? What kind of eagle is that? Luffy asked curiously. No, Yanchuanging is a name, it is an invincible existence. A terrifying warrior. Yu said very seriously. Really? Then I will be called Yanchuanging Usopp from now on. I want to become an invincible sea warrior. Usopp stood up and swore loudly. Has your ambition become bigger? Zoro raised his head and glanced at Usopp, then continued to sleep. Boring. Nami muttered. Nami, I still keep your gift for you. You can choose to accept it at any time. Yu looked at Nami and said. I will not join your pirate group, we are just a cooperative relationship. Nami said stubbornly. Well, when you want this power, come to me. I said it will be effective at any time. Yu smiled slightly. He knew that the day would come soon. Although he could forcefully pass it to Nami, he didn't want to do so. Maybe Nami could truly understand that power when she really wanted it. After all, it was Sister Pau's ability. Rather than just a few of them defeating Eren and his gang, he hopes Nami will use her own strength to defeat Eren. I don't need it. Nami turned her head, very stubborn. Finally finished. Luffy yelled and raised the pirate flag he drew high. Puff. Yu just squirted out the sip of water he just drank. Luffy's painting ability is really hard to describe. Ha ha ha, what are you painting? Usopp laughed. Pirate flag. Luffy said seriously. Don't put this flag up, or I'll leave now. Nami looked disgusted. It's really ugly. Let me do it. I'm very good at painting. Usopp volunteered. Really? Luffy asked strangely. Of course. Usopp confidently took the brush from Luffy's hand and started painting. Soon a beautiful pirate flag appeared, but it was a long-nosed skull. Bang! Bai-Fei kicked Usopp fly out. Are you too anxious to usurp the throne just after boarding the ship? Yu took the brush and started painting. He had studied art before, and he just painted a simple skull. It was too simple. Wow! Yu, you are so awesome. As expected of my deputy captain. Luffy looked at the pirate flag and was very happy. White feather. Let's also draw one on the sail. Sure, no problem. Yu nodded and started painting. Thanks to Luffy's ability, he could easily draw on the sails by extending his arms. The logo of the Straw Hat Pirates is completed. Now the Straw Hat Pirates can be considered truly successful. Now shall we celebrate? Yu said. Ha ha ha. Let's have a party. Luffy laughed happily. You guys just finished eating, right? Nami yelled. Cheers. The 5 people toasted happily. Yu. I respect you. Cheers. Zoro raised his glass. Cheers. Yu smiled and toasted to Sauron. Just when the 5 people were happy, a warship came quickly from a distance. It seemed like something was coming. Zolong's eyes looked into the distance. Oh no! It's a Navy warship. Usopp saw the Navy flag with his telescope and immediately screamed in fright. Navy? If you come here, just chop it down. Sauron said in a daze. Dang! Asshole! That's the Navy. Nami was very angry and knocked Zoro on the head. The Navy appears at this time. Yu frowned. It seems that there have been too many changes in the plot now. In his memory, he would only meet the Navy when he went to the sea restaurant. He didn't expect to meet him here. What's wrong? Nami asked quickly. There is something wrong. Yu nodded. No matter what, Run away. If caught by the Navy, it's over. Nami hasn't finished speaking yet. A cannonball flew over. Boom. The water waves caused by the explosion shook the Golden Mary. Without even warning, he just opened fire. Unacceptable. Usopp roared angrily, and his legs felt a little weak. He had just been out to sea for less than a day, and he didn't want to be caught by the Navy and locked up in prison. Just kill them. Zoran stood up and drew his sword from its sheath. Stop the ship and see what these Marines are up to. Baiyu said, Fang Zheng and the others are not famous now, and there is no reward. At most, Sauron is somewhat famous, and he is also a pirate hunter. Are you crazy? If we stop the boat we will be caught. Nami shouted loudly. Don't worry, Captain, what do you think? Baiyu ignored Nami and looked at Luffy. Then stop. Luffy looked indifferent. A bunch of lunatics, let's make a deal first. If you are caught by the Navy later, I will not save you. Nami stopped the ship helplessly. The Navy warship quickly came over and docked next to the melee. In front of the warship, the melee looked a little small. I am Captain Iron Fist Hobody of the Navy headquarters. Pirates surrender. Hobody stood on the plywood of the warship and shouted. From the Navy headquarters. Baiyu had a smile on his face when he heard the name of the sidekick. Since he is the Navy of the headquarters, it is possible to have the training method of the sixth form of the Navy. This is something he needs very much now. Although the sixth form of the Navy is not very powerful, but it is a very basic thing. It will be very helpful for practicing domineering in the future. Now that this guy has come to your door, he will naturally not be polite. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 13. Asshole. I'm talking to you. Can't you hear it? Hobadi was very angry. These little pirates dared to ignore him. You stay on the ship, and I'll go over and talk to the captain. After Baiyu said that, he jumped directly onto the warship. Are you a captain of the Navy headquarters? Baiyu asked. Good. Pirate, do you want to surrender? Hobadi sneered. Surrender? Baiyu shook his head. Since you are the captain of this headquarters, you should have practiced the sixth form of the Navy, right? It seems you know a lot. Do you want to try Navy 6? Hobadi shook his fist. Okay, come on, let me see your strength. Baiyu nodded. Watching the sixth form of the Navy still has some effect on practice. Court death. Huobo shook his fist angrily. Bang. Baiyu grabbed his fist. This is not the sixth form of the Navy. Asshole. Let you taste my iron fist. Hobadi seemed to have been poked in a sore spot, and immediately became angry. Bang. Baiyu kicked Hobadi away with a kick. Go, you are too weak. If I am not wrong, although you have practiced the 6 naval postures, you have not learned any of them, so you came to this small place in the East China Sea. Asshole. What are you doing standing there in a daze? Kill him for me. Hobadi roared. The Navy soldier immediately picked up his gun and pointed it at Baiyu. Bang, dense bullets hit Baiyu's body. Baiyu flicked hard, and all the bullets flew out. It's best not to move around, or I'll be tempted to kill someone. Baiyu looked at the Navy around him. He is not a murderer, and these Navy have no grudge against him. Moreover, his main purpose is to obtain the training methods of the sixth form of the Navy. You. Who are you? Hobadi sat on the ground and looked at Baiyu with some horror. My name is Baiyu, the vice captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. If you hand over the training methods of the sixth form of the Navy, I will let you go. After all, we have no grudges. Baiyu looked at Hobadi with a smile. You are dreaming. Even if I die, I will never hand over the sixth form of navy to you. Hobadi roared angrily. Then I can only help you. Crack. Bayou stepped on Hobadi's foot. Ah! Asshole! Hobadi screamed. What is Bayou doing? Is it a fight? Luffy looked at this warship very curiously. Well, so be it. Zolong closed his eyes and continued to sleep. Bayou can solve it anyway. On the warship. Because of Hobadi's scream, a woman walked out of the cabin. She was pretty good looking. Ah! Hobadi! The woman screamed. It turns out that your navy is so lucky to be able to bring women out on missions, so I won't be polite. When the woman heard Bayou's words, she immediately fell to the ground in fright. Asshole! Please let her go, and I will give you the training method of the sixth form of the navy. Hobadi immediately shouted. It would have been better if it had been like this, but it's too late now. Except for the sixth type navy, all the supplies and weapons on your ship belong to me. A smile appeared on Bayou's face. He doesn't have a knife now, not even a gun. He can't borrow a knife from Zoro every time, right? And Usopp also needs a gun and a knife to practice gunfighting. In order to let the crew, he also worked hard to become stronger. Do you know the consequences of robbing the navy? Hobadi gritted his teeth and threatened. Of course I know, but I believe you won't tell it, right? Bayou smiled. He knew that Hobadi would not dare to tell anyone. Otherwise, if word spreads, a captain of his headquarters will be robbed by an unknown pirate group in the East China Sea, and his future will be ruined. You are vicious. You'd better not be encountered by me in the future. Hobadi gave in. There is nothing he can do if he doesn't give in. He can't be beaten again and again. Bring it. Bayou stretched out his hand directly. For you. Hobadi took out a pamphlet from his arms and threw it to Bayou reluctantly. Have your men move supplies onto our ships. Bayou took a look and saw that it was indeed the training method of the sixth form of the navy, so he kept it in his arms. Move supplies to their ship. Hobadi gritted his teeth and issued the order. The navy soldiers began to move the supplies. The supplies on this warship are enough for Bayou and the others to eat for a month. Why don't you even have a good knife? Bayou looked at Hobadi coldly. I have a good sharp knife returning the air in my room. Hobadi was frightened by Bayou's eyes and said subconsciously. Don't bring it to me yet. Bayou shouted coldly. Go and get it. Hobadi shouted immediately. The navy soldier immediately entered the cabin and took the knife. Bayou immediately threw Hobadi aside after seeing the knife. The good-looking knife returned to the wind, the scabbard was cyan, the blade body was white, and it looked very good. Although the Liang Kui Deo is not as good as the Great Kui Deo, it is still very good. At least it is enough to be used in the early stage. Okay, then we are destined to meet you, bye. After Bayou finished speaking, he jumped off the warship and returned to the melee. Bayou, why did the Navy give us so many supplies and weapons? Luffy asked curiously. Because I had a friendly exchange with them, they gave us. Okay, let's go. Bayou smiled slightly. Anyway, he was definitely happy with this conversation. As for whether other people were happy or not, he didn't care. The knife here is pretty good. Zoran looked at the knife in Bayou's hand. Not as good as the one you have. Bayou pointed at the Hideo Yizawan in Zoran's hand. After all, it was a big sword, and there is no way to compare it with a good sword. Zoran looked at the Hideo Yizawan, as if he was lost in memories. Bayou didn't bother him. Came to Usopp, the guns and ammunition here are all for you. Don't do anything recently. Practice your gunfighting skills for me. Yes. Usopp shouted immediately. Okay, I'll leave it to you. I'm going to take a nap when I'm tired. Bayou said and lay down on the plywood, blowing the sea breeze and fell asleep. What a strange man. Nami looked at the sleeping Baiyu and murmured softly. Baiyu is very strong and a very nice person. Nami, why do you think he is strange? Luffy looked at Nami in confusion. You're weird too, okay. Nami roared and returned to the cabin. Am I weird? Luffy's mind was filled with questions. Luffy, help me practice. I want to become a warrior like Xiang Yan Chuangying. Usopp said seriously. Okay. I also want to see the gunfighting skills Baiyu taught you. Luffy agreed immediately. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 14. I don't know how long I slept. Baiyu woke up when he felt hungry. You finally woke up, after sleeping all day and night. If you weren't still breathing, I would have thought you were dead. Nami looked at Baiyu and said. Are you worried about me? Baiyu smiled. The devil is worried about you. Here's something to eat. I'll kill you. Nami handed a large plate of fried rice to Baiyu angrily, then turned around and left. It smells so good. Nami. I want to eat too. Luffy smelled the fragrance and couldn't help it immediately. If you want to eat it, cook it yourself. Why doesn't Baiyu do it himself? Luffy is very aggrieved. However, Baiyu won't care. This plate of rice is not enough for him to eat alone, and he will definitely not share it with Luffy. I must find a chef. Luffy made up his mind, otherwise he would starve to death. As for the food he cooked, it was even worse than devil fruit. It was impossible to expect Nami to cook. Usopp has made some progress, but there is still a long way to go. Baiyu clearly felt Usopp's progress. It seemed that Usopp had been practicing all day and night while he was asleep. I will work hard. Usopp also noticed the changes in himself, and he felt more confident. Baiyu took out the training method of Marine 6th form. The training method is very simple, not too complicated. He just read it once and he has memorized it. Everyone, come here. This is the training method of the 6th form of the Navy. I got it from the Navy. You can all practice it to improve your strength. Bye. You said and handed the notebook to Luffy. What? I can't understand. Luffy just glanced at it and handed the notebook to Zoro. Zoro read it carefully. After closing the notebook, he walked aside and started practicing. Point gun. After Usopp saw the finger gun, he stopped and watched carefully. Baiyu didn't disturb them. Everyone is good at something different. He can't give guidance on this. They can only make their own choices. Nami, don't you take a look? These are the 6 moves that only Marines can practice, and they are very powerful skills. Baiyu asked. I accepted this. Navy stuff should be fetched for a lot of money, so I treated it as my wages as a navigator. Nami grabbed the Marine 6th form in her hand and stuffed it directly into her clothes. Your suggestion is very good. I feel like we can do a business. Baiyu's eyes lit up. Money is very important in any world. No one would dislike having too much money, and Baiyu is no exception. What business? Nami was very confused. We can copy Navy Type 6. If you buy a copy worth tens of thousands of Baileys, someone will buy it, right? Baiyu said his plan. You are too dark. A pamphlet costs tens of thousands of Bailey. Nami shouted, then immediately changed her face. In that case, let's buy 100,000 Baileys for one copy. Well, that's it, I'll go copy it. Baiyu's face darkened. Who is darker? However, it doesn't matter. If the Navy's 6 styles are flooding in the sea, the Navy will also have a headache, right? Among the 5 people on the pirate ship, only Luffy is not practicing, and several others include Baiyu is practicing. Luffy is bored and can only practice along with him. Baiyu is very happy for such an atmosphere. Wow! Look! There is a very strange ship ahead. Luffy stood on the bow and shouted loudly. Idiot, that's the famous Barity Sea restaurant, I didn't expect to meet it here. Nami said. Amazing. I want to eat meat. Luffy's eyes suddenly lit up. Then go take a break, eat something, and combine work and rest. Bye. You smiled slightly, and finally it was Sanji's turn to get on the boat. Although the food cooked by Nami is also very delicious, there is still a big gap between it and the professional Sanji. However, Sanji's shortcomings are also obvious, he is too horny. The Navy warship just now seems to be here too. Zoro pointed at the warship. Are they waiting for us? Usopp was very scared. Even if he practiced spear fighting, his timidity would not change in a short time. That makes sense. Then you can stay and watch the boat while we go in to eat? Baiyu nodded seriously. What? Leave me alone in the boat. I do not want it. Although Usopp was scared, he was not stupid. 5 people boarded the sea restaurant Barity. As soon as they opened the door and walked in, a figure flew over. Bang! Baiyu kicked the figure away to avoid it. Hit! Asshole! The person who was kicked struggled to raise his head, and cold sweat suddenly broke out on his face. You! It turns out, Captain Hobadai, what's wrong with you? Got beaten again? Bye. You said with a smile. Asshole! Hobadai gritted his teeth and stood up, limping out. If you break something, you have to pay for it. Sanji came over. It seems you kicked me here, you scared us, I haven't asked you to pay, not to mention we have a beautiful lady here. Baiyu saw Sanji's curly eyebrows and recognized them at a glance. That's really embarrassing, beautiful lady. As compensation, I will entertain you personally. Please accept my love, no, my apology. Sanji conjured a flower out of nowhere and handed it to Nami. Nami was startled and hid directly behind Baiyu. Sanji! If you dare to offend the guests, get out of here. I don't need a troublesome cook here. Jeep came out and looked at Sanji with an unkind look. Are you a chef? Luffy's eyes lit up, do you want to join our pirate group and become our partner? Although she is such a beautiful lady, I refuse. Sanji shook his head and refused without thinking. I think it's good. You can agree to them and become a pirate with them. Anyway, your personality is more suitable for pirates. Jeep said from the side. Stinky old man. No matter what you say, I will never leave. Sanji shouted loudly. How dare you talk to me like that? Brat! Bang! Sanji was kicked out instantly. Sorry guest, I will teach him a lesson. Please sit down. Jeep said and dragged Sanji back. What a weird restaurant. Luffy complained. However, the short-lived storm has passed. Tasty. Tasty. Luffy ate very quickly. Nami only cooked for Baiyu these days and didn't care about the 3 of them at all. Usopp cooked the meals for the 3 of them these days. Although Usopp's cooking is better than Luffy's, flying was a little better, but it was just enough to eat. Finally, I ate delicious food, how could I stop? The 3 of them devoured it. At this moment, the guests in the restaurant ran outside crazily. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 15. What happened? Nami asked with a confused look on her face. Could it be that we met pirates? Luffy said vaguely. Fool! We are pirates. Nami knocked Luffy on the head. We are pirates, there is nothing wrong with that. Baiyu glanced at Nami, with a smile on his face. It seemed like a lot of people came. Zoro stopped and took a sip of water. Well, it looks like we are indeed in big trouble. Both Baiyu and Zoro have the domineering spirit of knowledge. Although they are not very skilled, they still have no problem knowing how many people are around. Bang! The door of the restaurant was violently kicked open. This is a nice ship. I want it. You chefs, prepare food for 200 people immediately. Get out of here as soon as you're done. Crick was very arrogant and didn't care at all whether the people in the sea restaurant agreed or not. Beautiful lady, it is no longer safe here. You should leave. Sanji came to Nami and said something, then walked to Creek. Dare to steal our ship? You have to get through me first. You. Crick looked at Sanji, and then a gun appeared on his shoulder. So boring. The muzzle sprayed flames, and the bullets went straight to Sanji. Sanji quickly evaded, but was still hit by the bullets. He fell to the ground. I am the most powerful. Just do whatever I ask you to do. It's an honor for you that I can take a liking to your ship. Crick shouted loudly. Sanji. The chefs immediately stepped forward to bring Sanji back. There's not enough meat here. Here's another. Bayou said. Although the voice was not loud, it was very clear. The chefs and Creek in the restaurant all looked at Bayou and his group of people. The place where they were sitting was a bit remote, and with such a mess, none of these people noticed that anyone else was eating. Leader. The crew has all disembarked. You can attack at any time. Ghost Manajin walked to Creek and said. You go and kill those annoying guys first. Crick said very casually, as if he was talking about eating. Yes. Ghost Manajin nodded and walked over. Usopp, I leave it to you, let us see the results of your training these days. After Bayou finished speaking, he continued to eat. Usopp was startled. The man in front of him looked very fierce. He had been frightened for a long time. Since you want to become a brave sea warrior, you must pass this level. If you cannot pass this level, you will always be a coward. Fear is human nature, but if we want to become stronger, we must overcome fear. Bayou's sincere teachings. He knows Usopp's character very well. If this continues, who knows when he will learn the art of gunfighting. That's a good point, but you may not have seen real fear, so let me tell you what real fear is. After the Ghost Manajin finished speaking, he rushed over in an instant, very fast. Usopp, you don't want me to die, do you? Bayou sat there motionless. Asshole! Usopp roared angrily and immediately blocked behind Bayou. Bang! A shot was fired. Akin dodged, then picked up and kicked Usopp. Don't underestimate people. Look at the power of my Yan's Hwanging Usopp. Gunfighting. Usopp roared angrily and fired 3 times in a row. The 3 bullets flew out in a perfect glyph pattern. There was no place for Jin to catch the ball in the air, and the 3 bullets completely blocked his movement, no matter how he moved. Would be hit. Unsurprisingly, Akin was hit by a bullet. But Usopp did not stop, rushed over, kicked Akin away, and fired again. Bang! Akin hit the wall up, the bullet hit Akin right between the eyebrows. Plop! Usopp himself was so frightened that he fell to the ground. This was his first time to kill someone. Ajin. When Creek saw Ajin being killed, he roared angrily, asshole. You dare to kill Ajin? I want you to die. As soon as the words fell, many gun muzzles appeared on Creek's body, and he started shooting wildly. Sauron stood up, blocking in front of the dining table, and the knife in his hand was instantly unsheathed. Dang! 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 All the bullets were taken away, lung flies out. Luffy, don't you want a chef? Now go and tell the chef that we will protect his restaurant, and then ask him to come on board with us. Bayou glanced at Luffy. Good idea. Luffy immediately stood up and ran to Sanji. We will help you deal with these people. How about you join us and become our partner? Asshole. Take advantage of others' danger. How ungentlemanly. Sanji roared angrily, then exhaled heavily and struggled to stand up. Thank you for your kindness. I will protect the restaurant by myself. Sanji. The others immediately stepped forward to hold Sanji. Well, that's up to you. After Luffy finished speaking, he turned around and returned to the dining table. I want this, chef. No problem, leave it to me. Baiyu had known this for a long time, nodded and stood up. He had almost eaten and was just in time to move around. At this moment, the pirate ship of the Creek pirates outside instantly turned into 3 sections and sank. Entering the water. The huge pirate ship sank, causing a huge wave. The restaurant continued to shake. Melee! Usopp exclaimed. My treasure! Nami exclaimed and rushed out immediately. Usopp also ran out quickly. Leader! No! Oh no! The man is catching up. Reading books on May Day will be great. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, April 29th to May 3rd. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 16. What? Crick's face changed wildly, and he completely lost the domineering look he had just now. He was just like Usopp just now, even worse than Usopp. Go and weigh anchor. Otherwise we too will sink. Raise the fins. Ready to fight. Jeep immediately conveyed the order. Yes. The chefs immediately started executing. Luffy, Baiyu, it seems that the man I am looking for has appeared. Zolong looked outside with firm eyes. Then go for it? Baiyu didn't stop him, and he knew he couldn't. And if a man was willing to risk his life for this battle, he had no reason to stop him. Then let's go together. I also want to see who the man Sauron is looking for is. Luffy stood up. The 3 of them walked towards the door in a tacit understanding. Please get out of the way. Baiyu said to Creek, who was blocking the door. Asshole! Go to hell! Crick roared angrily and punched out. Roll! Baiyu directly kicked Creek out. The 3 people walked out. Hawkeye glanced at Creek, who flew out of the restaurant, and had no intention of taking action. But his eyes were on Baiyu, Zoro, and Luffy. The man paused for a moment. Sauron clenched the knife at his waist and looked at Hawkeye, his fighting spirit rising. He slowly walked to the side of Hawkeye's coffin-board boat. 3 knives. It's the pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro. How could he appear here? Some of the pirates who fell into the water immediately recognized Zoro. However, Zoro did not pay attention to these people. There was only one person in his eyes now. You seem to be very free, let's compete. Hearing this, Hawkeye raised his head and glanced at Sauron. Contest. Poor weakling. After Hawkeye finished speaking, he appeared in front of Sauron. If you are a first-class swordsman, even if we don't fight, you should be able to feel the gap between us before you dare to draw your sword at me. Should I say you are ignorant or fearless? Because of my ambition and the agreement between my best friends. Zoro said, unsheathing all 3 knives. Hawkeye took off the necklace hanging from his neck. It was a very small knife. It should be used to peel fruits. There must be a limit to looking down on others. When Zoro saw Hawkeye pointing a knife at him, his anger level instantly filled up. The chefs at the restaurant on the sea also came out to watch the battle. Zoro, the famous 3-sword-style pirate hunter in the East China Sea, faced off against Hawkeye my hawk. This way you can't see the battle at all times. Baiyu, will Sauron win? Luffy asked. Don't you already know the answer? Baiyu didn't answer, he believed Luffy could see it. I don't want to lose my partner. Luffy clenched his fists. I don't want to either, but this is his ambition and his dream. We have no reason to stop it. All we can do is trust him. Bayou has no idea, the plot is completely messed up now. He doesn't know if Hawkeye will kill Sauron. The key is, even he is no match for Hawkeye now. I believe Sauron, Luffy said through gritted teeth. While the two were talking, the battle between Zoro and Hawkeye had already begun. Ghost slaying. Sauron is very fast. Ding. Hawkeye's knife accurately blocked Sauron's 3 knives. How can this be? I can't even detect his movements with my knowledge. My attack was clearly seen by him. Zoro was shocked. He knew that there was a gap between himself and Hawkeye before. But he didn't expect that the gap was so big. Impossible. How could there be such a big gap? Zoran roared angrily and started to attack crazily. He was full of domineering power and his speed was getting faster and faster. But no matter how fast Sauron was, all his attacks were easily blocked by Hawkeye. Hawkeye was also a little shocked. Donghai is known as the weakest in the world. I didn't expect that such a young swordsman would awaken his haki. More importantly, Zoro's swordsmanship is too violent. He doesn't care about any defense at all, he only knows how to attack. Not fast enough. I want to be faster. Zolong seemed to have entered a strange state, just like when Bayou taught him the Shura sword. Young swordsman, let me see where your limits are. The more Hawkeye beats, the more frightened he becomes, and the more curious he is about Sauron. Sauron's speed is getting faster and faster, and ordinary people can no longer see Sauron's figure. Bayou knows that Sauron has understood the shaving of the 6th Marine style. Hawkeye's knife pierced Zoro's heart. Why don't you retreat? If you retreat, you won't be stabbed. I don't know why, but I feel like I can't retreat. Zoro shook his head and took a quick step back. Young strong man, tell me your name. Hawkeye said and put away the knife. Roronoa Zoro. I remember your name. You are qualified to let me fight you with the strongest black knife in the world. Hawkeye said as he took out the black knife from his back. It is an honor to die under this black knife. After Sauron's words fell, his aura continued to increase. Hawkeye. Today I will be the weakest to defeat you the strongest. Shuro with one sword. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 17. Shuro with one sword. Zoran roared angrily. His skin turned blood red. A black light visible to the naked eye glowed all over his body. At this moment, Sauron was like Shura returning from hell. Compressed 90% of the power. Bayou looked at Sauron's state and was extremely shocked. Before this, he could only compress 10% of his strength. Now he has compressed it directly to 90%, almost a big success. Hawkeye was also very shocked. Unexpectedly Zoro actually has such a method. However, he can't see it anymore. This state has a time limit. Whoops. Sauron disappeared. So fast. Hawkeye was shocked. The speed of the two men's battle was getting faster and faster. The naked eye could no longer see any movements of the two men. Phew. Zoro stopped and breathed heavily. He knew that he only had the last one left. The strength of the attack was strong. Except for Hideo Yazawan, the other two swords in his hand could no longer hold up. The final blow. Hawkeye said. If I can't knock you down with the last blow, I'll lose. Zoro said, raising his hands and spinning the two knives like windmills. The speed became faster and faster, setting off a gust of wind. Okay, let's decide the outcome with one blow. Eagle Eye also immediately made a fighting posture. The secret of 3 sword styles, 3,000 worlds. After Sauron's words fell, he and Hawkeye had exchanged places. Click. The two knives in Sauron's hands instantly shattered into countless pieces. Puff! Blood spurted out. Sauron lost. However, Hawkeye, there was also a blood stain on his arm. Phew! Zorro took a deep breath and threw away the broken hilt. He put Hideo Yizawan into the scabbard, took a look at it, and inserted it into the ground. Then he opened his arms. "What are you doing?" Hawkeye asked. "The wound on the back is a swordsman's shame." "Well done." After Hawkeye finished speaking, he swung out his knife. Blood spurted out. Zorro fell straight to the ground. "Zorro!" Luffy yelled. Bayou appeared next to Zorro instantly. "Zorro! Wake up! You can't die! Asshole!" Luffy angrily attacked Hawkeye. "Are you his partners? Thank you for not stopping this battle. Don't worry, he is not dead. It would be a pity if he died now." Hawkeye glanced at Bayou and Luffy, then looked down at his arm. "I haven't been injured for a long time. Roro no Zoro, it's too early for you to die. See yourself clearly, re-understand the world, and become stronger. Beyond this black knife in my hand, surpass me. I'm waiting for you on the strongest throne." Hawkeye shouted loudly to Sauron. After saying these words, the people around were very shocked. Hawkeye is the world's greatest swordsman, so he can recognize it and say such a thing. Sauron, the future is absolutely limitless. The most important thing is that everyone saw the wound on Hawkeye's arm. It was cut by Sauron. Next time we meet, your strongest throne may be gone. Bayou looked at Eagle Eye and said, "I'm looking forward to it." "What's your goal?" Hawkeye asked. "Let the Straw Hat Pirates become the strongest pirate group ever." Bayou has a goal in mind. "Boy, where is your goal?" Hawkeye looked at Luffy. "I want to become the Pirate King." Luffy stated his goal without hesitation. "One Piece." Hawkeye was a little surprised. "That's a more difficult road than surpassing me." "I don't care, I just want to be," Luffy said and made a face. "Luffy. Bayou. Let you worry. If I don't become the strongest swordsman in the world, won't I disappoint you, cough cough." "Sauron, don't talk, take a rest, I'll bandage you right now." Bayou looked at the injured Zoro and felt a little sad. Obviously he could change the plot, so Zoro wouldn't have to get hurt. He also made up his mind. There will be no plot in the future. He doesn't care. Since the world is already in chaos, then it will be a complete mess. I will never lose again. Before I defeat him and become the most powerful swordsman in the world, I will never lose again. Do you have any opinions? One Piece. Vice Captain. Zoro shouted loudly with all his strength. No comment. No comment. Luffy and Bayou smiled at each other and said in unison. What a fun team, I'm waiting for you on the Grand Line. After Hawkeye finished speaking, he jumped on his boat and left. Hey Bayou, why did our pirate ship leave? Luffy saw the Mary leaving the restaurant on the sea. Bandage Zoro first, he will really die later. Bayou glanced at the pirate ship going away and ignored it. There is medicine in the restaurant. Come here quickly. Jeep shouted. Bayou picked up Sauron and quickly rushed into the restaurant to bandage Sauron. Luffy. Usopp swam up from the sea. Usopp? Why are you in the sea? Luffy quickly pulled Usopp onto the shore. Nami drove the ship away and took away all our treasures. Usopp shouted angrily. What? Luffy's eyes widened. She also said that our cooperation ends here, and the ship and treasure will be his reward for this time. Usopp clenched his fist and hit the ground. I'm sorry, I didn't take a good look at our pirate ship. Betrayed by the crew? After witnessing the power of the Grand Line, fear is normal. Crick didn't know when he climbed ashore. Hawkeye was gone, Sauron was seriously injured, and no one threatened him. He felt that he could do it again. Reading books on May Day was so fun. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Grab the recharge now. Event time, April 29th to May 3rd. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 18. Luffy's eyes suddenly turned cold. He turned his head and punched directly. Boom. Creek fell into the water again. Leader. Who is this guy? He actually knocked the leader away. Shut up. The leader is the strongest. It was just a sneak attack. Leader. Kill that Straw Hat boy. The pirates immediately began to cheer for their leader. Kids. Let's go. Grab this floating restaurant. Crick shouted, and all the pirates immediately rushed to the restaurant. Although because Hawkeye destroyed the pirate ship, the number of Crick pirates was a little smaller. But there were still more than 100 people. Restaurant there are less than a dozen chefs. Except for Sanji and GP, they are all a group of chefs. Even if they have some combat power, they are still very limited. It is obviously not enough to deal with this group of vicious pirates. You are partners, right? You know he is no match for Hawkeye, why don't you stop him? Sanji asked very puzzledly. Bayou glanced at Zoro, who was already asleep, and said when he went to see, he had already realized it. If you are willing to risk your life, you have to realize it. Ambition. Ambition that puts your life on the line. Sanji glanced at Zoro. He thought of Zoro's indifference when he faced death just now. That scene really shocked him. In fact, you already had it, but you didn't do it, or you were afraid of something. Bye. You said and walked out of the restaurant without saying anything else. Yes, I had ambitions a long time ago. Sanji looked at Bayou's back and followed him out. Luffy, let's deal with this quickly. We still need to find Nami. You don't want to replace such a good navigator, right? Bayou said and glanced at Creek in the distance. Of course, I don't want to switch to navigator. Rubber big cyclone. Luffy swept his long legs, and the people who had just boarded the boat were instantly swept away. I'll leave that Crick to you, and leave these minions to me. Bayou has no interest in taking action against Creek. No problem. Luffy has long wanted to fight off Creek, but now he is at odds with his wishes. Usopp, I'll leave these people to you. These are your best training partners for spear fighting. Don't feel any pressure. None of these people are good. Bayou won't take action against these people. Isn't it fun to watch the fun? Didn't you say you would take action yourself? Usopp's legs began to tremble when he saw the dense crowd of people. I just said leave it to me, but I didn't say I would take action. Now I leave it to you. Do you have any objections? Bayou looked at Usopp with slightly narrowed eyes. Gilo, no. Usopp was frightened. He knew Bayou's methods very well. Then let's do it. After Bayou finished speaking, he sat aside. He seems to be afraid of you. Sanji said. This is not fear, this is respect. After all, I am the deputy captain, and the captain is unreliable. Naturally, I, the deputy captain, must be more reliable. Bayou said matter-of-factly. Sanji glanced at Luffy and nodded in recognition. Although Usopp has been practicing for a relatively short time, spear fighting is a very comprehensive skill. Spear skills, fighting skills, swordsmanship is all included. Although Usopp is not as powerful now, he still has no problem dealing with these people. However, he is too timid and cannot use his full power. Asshole. Bayou, save me. Usopp quickly asked for help. Nothing. Bayou sighed, it was such a waste of such a good skill. Let me do it. Sanji lit a cigarette and rushed out, kicking one of the minions. Usopp's pressure instantly decreased, and he gradually began to become more proficient. There is no other way, gunfighting is all about practice. Boy, can you take Sanji out to sea? Jeep said suddenly. Do you really want to drive him away? Bayou asked curiously. His talent should not stay with me. His dream is far away, not with me, an old man. I don't want him to regret it when he reaches my age. Jeep said seriously. I can take him away, but that depends on his own wishes. Bayou didn't refuse, and he had no reason to refuse. He would never waste such a powerful combat power as Sanji. With the addition of Sanji, his strength will definitely skyrocket again. That's fine. I will naturally have a way to make him leave with you. Don't worry, he is a very serious person and will not betray you. Geppuruo said with a hint. I believe. Bayou nodded and said nothing more. More than 100 minions were simply not enough for Usopp and Sanji to fight. The battle was over quickly. But Luffy was not over yet. Carrie K's insidious tricks keep coming, and it's not that easy for Luffy to end the battle. Luffy, end the battle quickly, don't waste time. Bayou shouted. All right. I'm not done with you. 8 gates Dungia. Close the door. Open. After Luffy opened the 8-gate armor, he disappeared instantly. Bang. He punched Creek's golden armor. The armor that could not be broken just now shattered instantly. Poof. Creek vomited blood. But Luffy didn't planning to let him go like this. Rubber Watch Lotus. Bang. With a kick, Creek flew up. Luffy raised his head high, wrapped his arms around Creek, and spun his body quickly. Boom. Creek hit the wreckage of the pirate ship and lost consciousness. Solve the battle. Luffy clapped his hands and returned to the deck of the restaurant. Okay, the matter has been resolved, we have to go. Bayou glanced at GP and said. I hope I will have the opportunity to eat your delicious food in the future. Wait a moment. Sanji. Don't you say something? GP said quickly. Thank you for helping our restaurant. You can dine in the restaurant for free in the future. Sanji turned his head after saying that. Asshole. As a man, you must keep your promises. If they help us solve the pirates, you must become pirates with them. If you don't go, get out immediately. My restaurant does not need people who do not keep their promises. Jeep shouted angrily. Sanji, become our partner. Luffy extended the invitation very solemnly. You have no way out now, leaving with us is the best option. Bayou said. Well, there's no room for me here anyway, these bastards all want to drive me away, right stinky old man. Sanji lit a cigarette and said, let me be the cook on your ship. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 19. Very good. Finally a chef. Luffy jumped up happily when he heard Sanji agreed. Bayou also had a smile on his face. Although there were some changes in the process, he finally got on the ship. You guys wait while I pack my things. After Sanji said that, he turned around and entered the restaurant. Well, uncle, can you give us a boat? Luffy said. Sure. Jeep nodded. Go and bring Sanji's boat over, and then prepare some ingredients for them. I'll get it myself. Luffy immediately rushed into the restaurant. I want this beef. I also want this pork belly. I want this meat too. How much meat do you want? The restaurant chef was very depressed. This is a big bag filled with food. Not to mention 5 people, even a dozen people can eat it for many days. Boy, this is my record of a year sailing on the Grand Line, which should allow you to avoid many dangers. Jeep handed a very old notebook to Bayou. No, if it's not dangerous, what's the point? It's more fun to explore the unknown, isn't it? Bayou smiled slightly and rejected the book. Just knew it was so. Jeep didn't say much and took the notebook back. Sanji walked out with a simple suitcase, and Luffy followed behind with a bag full of ingredients. Bastard Sanji. Now that you are leaving, we should also understand our hatred. The two chefs provoked and thought about Sanji. Bang. Bang. The two of them were kicked out directly. Just because you still want to fight me? It's still 100 years early. Sanji looked at the chefs in the restaurant and said, in addition, your acting skills are terrible. As he said that, he got ready to get on the boat. Won't you say goodbye? Bayou said. No, Sanji said without looking back. Sanji, don't catch a cold. Jeep still couldn't hold it back. Sanji's movements froze, and his tears instantly burst into tears. He thought of when he was a child, Jeep lost a foot in order to save him. In order to let him live, he gave all the food to him. He was killed. This stubborn old man was his savior and his master. He was more like his father and had taken care of him for so many years. He turned around and knelt down to Jeep. Stinky old man. Thank you for your care over the years. Your great kindness. I will never forget it in my life. Enjoy the rest of your life. Don't die too early. Bang bang bang. Kowtowed 3 times in a row, turned around and jumped on the boat. Bayou carried Sauron on the boat, and the 5 of them set off again. Bayou, do you know where Nami went? Luffy asked very worriedly. I know, don't forget what I'm capable of. Bayou smiled slightly. Fortunately, she has Nami's navigation ability, otherwise no one would be able to find her. Did you eat a devil fruit too? Sanji asked very confused, mainly because he didn't see Bayou take action. He didn't know what Bayou was capable of. Bayou is a clone who ate the copy fruit. He can copy the abilities of all of us, which is super powerful. My 8-gate dungeon was taught to me by Bayou, as well as Zoro's one-sword Shura, Usopp's spear fighting skills, and I don't know what Nami's is. Luffy shook Bayou's old bottom clean very directly. Then he thought of something and continued, Bayou, don't you give Sanji a meeting gift? What kind of meeting gift? Sanji asked curiously. It just teaches you a skill, a super powerful one. Luffy said exaggeratedly. I have cooking skills. Sanji asked without any courtesy at all. You're really rude. Fortunately, I was prepared. Bayou was also shocked after getting Sanji's exclusive skill. Because this is the only skill related to God. God-level cooking skills, from the captive world of gourmet food, the cooking skills of the strongest chef froze. Due to different rules in the world, the skill effects have changed. Please explore for yourself for details. Although this skill is a cooking skill, but Flows can be called the strongest chef in the captive world of gourmet food, and her fighting power also comes from her god-level cooking skills. As long as Sanji fully learns this skill, his strength will definitely become the pinnacle of the pirate world. Bayou's finger pointed at Sanji's forehead. Sanji closed his eyes and didn't open them for a long time. Bayou, what took Sanji so long? Luffy asked in confusion. All of them woke up quickly, but Sanji was so slow. It's okay, his skills are different from yours. Bayou actually didn't know the reason. As soon as he finished speaking, Sanji burst into tears. After opening his eyes, he immediately hugged Bayou, and all the tears and snot rubbed on Bayou's body. Vice Captain. Thank you. Sanji burst into tears with excitement. Let me go first. Bayou was also a little depressed because of the clothes he just changed. Sanji, what skills have you learned that make you so excited? Usopp asked curiously. The vice captain taught me god-level cooking skills. After seeing the god-level cooking skills, I realized how rubbish the meals I cooked before were and how much food I wasted. Sanji was very excited. Divine cooking skills. Wow! The food you make must be particularly delicious. Luffy also became excited. Food that doesn't shine is not food. Just let me, the god of food, Sanji. Let's take a look at what real cooking is. Sanji walked into the kitchen in a high mood and started cooking. Bayu's face was strange. He found that after the crew learned his skills, some strange changes seemed to have happened. I am the strongest officer of the Straw Hats. Author, Super Red. Chapter 20. Soon, a rich aroma wafted from the kitchen. Fragrant. So delicious. Even Bayu, a time traveler, has never smelled such a fragrance. He seems to understand now why those people had exaggerated expressions after eating delicious food while watching anime. Because it smells so good. Just the smell makes the body feel a little out of control. I can't wait to eat this delicious food right away. This smell floated on the sea, and the fish in the sea followed the boat one after another. Want to taste this delicacy? Immediately afterwards, a magical scene appeared. There were all kinds of fish behind the boat. There are also some small sea beasts among them. They keep jumping out of the water, greedily absorbing the delicious food in the air. Bayu was shocked. Sanji had only just scratched the surface of understanding god-level cooking skills. What would it be like if we fully understood god-level cooking skills in the future? It seems that eating will be a dangerous thing for them in the future. Who knows when a Neptune species appeared? Sanji soon came out with plates of delicious food. The moment the lid is opened, the light shines brightly. The light dissipated, but there was still a little bit of light on the dishes, which was extremely dazzling. If it weren't for the enticing aroma of the food, you would really think it was a work of art. Even Luffy, a foodie, didn't take the first step, so you can imagine how exquisite this is. Please enjoy. Sanji said very gentlemanly. After the words fell, the four of them threw themselves directly on the table without any hesitation. Image. Haha, there will be no plates later, who cares about image? Bayu is eating the first. When he was talking, the whole person was motionless. The other three people were also the same, as if they were under a restraining spell. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Bayu felt that his physical condition had improved a lot. After the four people came back to their senses, they immediately began to shout. It's so delicious. But what's strange is that even Luffy and Bayu, the two most eaters, are full after just eating 2 plates. This is a very incredible thing. Originally, when the two of them eat, they have to eat at least it would take more than a dozen plates, or even dozens of plates, to be full. Now I am full after just 2 plates, and I can't eat any more. I don't know if my gourmet cells will be awakened in the future. Bayu couldn't help but think. If they can really awaken their food cells, their combat power will definitely soar again. Sanji. Amazing. It was the first time I was full so quickly. Too delicious. Luffy was very excited. This is all thanks to the deputy captain. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have learned such advanced cooking skills. If I eat it regularly, I can strengthen my physique. Sanji was very happy when he saw the 4 people looking satisfied. We are all partners, so there is no need to be so polite. This is because you have excellent cooking skills, otherwise you would not be able to understand god-level cooking skills. Although Bayu himself knows god-level cooking skills, but asking him to cook? Then don't think about it. It's impossible to cook, you can only eat ready-made food. However, god-level cooking skills are not just as simple as cooking. The sword skills in this are also very magical. Even if Sanji has only understood a little bit now, those extremely exquisite sword skills have also benefited Bayu a lot. He originally did not intend to practice the 3-sword style like Zoro. After all, Zoro is enough and the only one in the three-sword style. Now combined with Zoro's swordsmanship and god-level cooking skills, he can already create his own one-sword style. It seems like something is approaching. Sauron looked aside with a wary expression. As soon as he finished speaking, a whirlpool appeared next to the boat. Boom! A huge sea beast appeared from the whirlpool. Manatee. Bayou was a little surprised when he saw this monster. He didn't expect that this guy would appear again after the plot changed. Quick, run quickly. Usopp was so frightened that his whole body trembled. Sexy cook, is this food edible? Zoran looked at the manatee. His eyes were not looking at the sea beast, but at a large plate of delicious food. It should be edible, but we don't have anywhere to dispose of it now. Sanji didn't care about Zoro's name. He was also thinking about how to cook the manatee. The manatee suddenly felt a little dangerous. He looked around, but found nothing that could threaten it. What on earth is this guy going to do? Before it attacks us yet, we'd better run away. Usopp quickly began to persuade. He didn't want to fight such a big guy. Look at me. Rubber gun. Luffy punched out directly. Bang. The manatee was immediately thrown into the sea, causing a huge wave, and the boat began to shake. Knocked down? Very good. Usopp breathed a sigh of relief. Roar. An angry beast roar sounded. The manatee was punched and immediately became angry. He opened his bloody mouth and was about to eat several of them and the entire ship. Are you hungry? Come and eat. Sanji took out a plate of the leftover meat they had eaten. After the manatee smelled the fragrance, his violent state disappeared instantly. After smelling it twice, he opened his mouth and was ready to eat. Sanji, you are so gentle. Usopp hasn't finished speaking yet. Roll. Sanji exploded instantly and kicked the manatee in the chin. Then he ate the meat on the plate himself, and he must not waste the food. He was beaten twice in a row. Although the manatee could not speak, he was not stupid at all. It knew that it couldn't afford to offend these humans. But it couldn't bear to part with the fragrant food. It just exposed its head for a long time, looking at the boat and the few people on the boat with an aggrieved look. It's better to kill and eat the meat. Zoran stood up and prepared to kill the manatee. He was so frightened that he hid in the water, with only the horns exposed. Okay, come out. Since you are a buffalo, you are also considered a cow. If you help us pull the boat, we will not kill you, but we can also reward you with a bite of delicious food. Bye. You said. The manatee immediately surfaced and nodded, indicating that he was willing to pull the boat. Cocoa West Village. Here we come.